Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the East Long Meadow School Committee meeting. It's May 7th, 2018, and it is 7 p.m. As a reminder, this meeting is both being audio and video recorded. I ask if anyone else is doing so to please let us know. Okay, seeing none, we move on. If we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have roll call vote, and starting to my left, please.
Allison Stevens, student rep.
Bill Fonseca.
Rich Fitzgerald.
Gregory Thompson.
Deirdre Mayu.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Elizabeth Marcy Boucher.
Valerie Amier, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Kathy Saletti, Recording Secretary.
Excellent. We have the approval of minutes. We have the April 23rd, 2018 regular session meeting minutes.
Move to approve the April 23rd, 2018 regular session meeting minutes.
Okay, motion made
Second.
and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that carries forward 5-0. All right, we have committee and subcommittee communication. So, Ally, you can start us off, please.
So today at the high school was the first day of AP exams, which will continue through this week and next week. Lots of tests being taken. And the drama production is on Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m.
What are they doing?
They're doing a play, I forget the name of it, about like some girls going through high school and stuff. So,
I think it's called Reviving Ophelia.
yes, that's what it is.
Thank you. Is that it? All right. Bill?
Okay, I took the opportunity, along with Senior, to attend the Arbor Day celebrations at both Maple Shade and Mountain View.
Oh, thank
Great
you.
day, great presentations by the students at both schools. It was really an enjoyable morning, and they seemed really appreciative of all of the stuff that was spoken to and about. So it was really a good day. And congratulations to all the students who got awards at Student Awards Night last Thursday, including our own Allison. Congratulations.
That's right.
That's it.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Chair.
My win streak continues. The lacrosse team in the corner, so I'm on a hot streak here. And secondly, I want to thank Mr. Thompson, Ms. Mayu, and Ms. Harris, and Mr. Smith for attending that town council meeting at 11 o'clock on, what day was it? It was a
Tuesday.
Wednesday or something?
Wednesday.
It was
A
actually
Wednesday, yeah. I mean,
Mrs. Mayu and Mr. Thompson.
yeah. Thank you very much for doing that. It was a very tough time, and you made a difference.
All right, Mr. Thompson.
I have nothing. Thank you.
I just want to mention a couple of things that I've attended. We had the high school concert, the high school spring concert last week, which again is always excellent. And then I also made it to the track and field, the Spartan invitation that we had last week. And what a great turnout, great day, fantastic weather. And I think East Long Meadow did really well in there. We had a couple of kids that really had some, I don't know what they call it, recognition awards or. So it was really fun to see. And that is all I have.
I got, well, I feel bad because I always go to Arbor Day. A lot of these
I
things,
know.
it's just that pesky job to get some away. But anyways, it's so sad. I did go to Maple Shade Mountain View had their science night, which was nice to go to. I enjoyed kind of going back and talking to some of the people there, which was good. Dragged my little one along. It's not so little anymore. The other thing is, E-Leaf has on May 17th at, oh my gosh, where is it?
Mario's.
Oh, it's at Mario's. I know, I'm sorry. At Mario's, Edie's going to have a celebrity bartender event from 5 to 9:30, and a lot of the proceeds from dinner even are going to be going, and drinks are going to be going to them, and our own Rich Fitzgerald will be bartending at 8 p.m.
Oh, that's a fun.
Oh, so we got to
So-
go there.
I did it last year. I was wondering who guys did it.
Yep, so if you can attend that,
They didn't
it'll
like
be kind of
your
fun.
Apparently not. Or too strong.
And that's it.
What time does it start? I'm sorry.
It starts at 5.
Oh, 5, okay.
Yeah, so you can have, go visit and then go home and feed the kids dinner.
Oh, yeah,
But anyways,
okay, that'll
or bring
work.
them to Mario's, and some of the proceeds from the meals actually will be going toward it this year.
Oh, okay.
So
That's good.
that might be a better approach.
Yeah, I like that.
It might be better just to go see our famous
Time
bartender.
you on?
Yeah.
8.
8 p.m.
Oh, you got the late night
Got
shift.
the late one.
Yep.
All right. Moving down, this is the opportunities for visitors to address the committee. So at this point, if you two would like to come up. We have Sam Leone and Jenny Gao joining us this evening.
Good evening. I don't want to take up too much of your time. There is quite a bit on the agenda. It has come to my attention that elimination of class rank has been on the school committee's radar for many years, and I have faith in its ability to assess the pros and cons and make an informed decision. However, in the spirit of the Spartan Town Hall this Friday, I'd like to offer a first-hand student perspective. Where the district has implemented some decisions rather quickly, I think that everybody in this room could agree that no matter the outcome, the most important thing is to put as many viewpoints as possible on the table. There are some disadvantages to eliminating class rank. First of all, it motivates our students to expand their academic horizons by taking more advanced classes. Our high school prides itself on extensive AP and honors options for students, and part of this is made possible by the incentive to raise weighted GPA. Oftentimes, students taking these classes for more pragmatic reasons discover new interests and passions that they may not have had otherwise. On that note, rank can create a friendly competition, as opposed to other means of trying to outdo your peers. For students who feel the need to exceed others, class rank provides a constructive rather than destructive outlet to do so. Also, our students have been subjected to a great deal of change in recent years. The class of 2019, for instance, has faced 2 administrative changes in Mountain View and Birchland. In the high school, we've had a new schedule every year, changes to curriculum, graduation requirements, and mandates to the town. Regardless of how or through which bodies these decisions were made, the fact remains, our students do lack stability. Far too often, my classmates refer to themselves with this term consistently and unfortunately, guinea pigs. One of the reasons so many students feel uncomfortable in the high school is this reason. They feel disenfranchised. The only thing we are used to, oftentimes, is change. So if the decision is to abolish class rank, it would be in the best interest of our community to apply it to current or incoming freshmen, to make sure that they have that sense of slow progress rather than more drastic. On the other hand, class rank is a source of stress. While academic competition between classmates is often friendly, it can often divide friends as students are motivated, in essence sometimes, to root against their peers. At times, class rank can be misleading. For instance, some of the same classes, depending on the teacher, can be unique in difficulty. Thus, distinct grades between 2 students in the same course may not indicate skill level. Likewise, scheduling conflicts put students in lower level classes that they may not otherwise choose, possibly ranking 2 individuals of comparable academics in a way more depicting luck than skill. Moreover, class rank can create the illusion of superiority. Some students forget that at the end of the day, class rank is based only on GPA. If a student is more highly ranked than one of their classmates, they may feel above that person, even if they are a gifted athlete, musician, or possess some other valuable skill. Therefore, the district may benefit from ending class rank in order to promote more equality. To finish, I would just like to say one of the most important things to securing successful adoption of any program is a public dialogue. If high schoolers are expected to quickly accept a decision handed down to them, they should, at the very least, feel heard. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Penny, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that covered the gist of it.
Okay. Yeah, I like how you show both sides before you leave, so I just want to at least give you a compliment
I
for,
like that.
first of all, coming up here. I know it's not easy. I do want to let you know the idea of when it would be implemented is a question that we thought about also. So I like that you thought about that and brought it up this evening. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything to what was said.
No, I'm just really impressed you did put both sides out there. I
Yep.
think that's cool.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. All right, and speaking of which, we're moving down to the presentation, 5.1. Proposed changes to the East Long Meadow dress code, so if we can have our leadership team and...
High school administrators here.
Dress code first?
Yep, dress code
Yes,
first.
dress code first.
Okay.
And I have your slides, let me just chew those up.
I know you're here for 3 agenda items, so
All right.
you can just take a seat.
Okay. Slides are on the screen.
All righty. So thank you for having us tonight. If you could go to the first slide, it kind of gives you a little context before we get started. We have been talking about changing our dress code, quite frankly, since I became principal. We've constantly had the conversation with our teachers and school council, and it's one of those issues that everybody has a very different opinion. But if you look at our current dress code, there are some things about it that we do feel that we have to update from an equity and inclusivity perspective. And just to kind of give you an understanding of, this is an issue many high schools across the country are facing. If you were to Google this, you'll find that there's schools that are kind of talking about the language of inclusivity and equitable standards when it comes to dress code. As a matter of fact, the ACLU has been doing a lot of work with schools, because if you read from the slide that the dress codes that they're asking us to be very careful that target or evenly enforced amongst a particular group of students could put schools in jeopardy of violating sex discrimination law. So the ACLU has been very vocal in terms of the dress code debate. There is a movement that is called the I Am Not a Distraction movement, and it's pretty cool. It was actually started by some young girls who felt that the dress codes of today unfairly target girls. You've probably heard of the term body shaming, in which girls are made to feel singled out during the school day because of the clothing that they wear. And I thought this quote from one of the kids, and I'll show you a little video in just a minute, was really powerful. It says, "When you interrupt a girl's school day to force her to go home and change clothes because her bra strap is visible, you are telling her that making sure that boys have a distraction-free learning environment is more important than her education." And that was from one of the young women that is kind of leading this movement. Body shaming girls with ample hips or other sort of body parts singles them out. I wanted to show you a really short video that kind of summarizes where this movement is and some of the student voices on it. So if you could just hit that. I hope you can hear it.
Cannot open specified file.
Technology. Well, if you had seen it, you would have seen a really cute middle school girl, for lack of a better word. She's a jock, so she had on the tank top and her soccer shorts. Her soccer shorts were not dress code appropriate because they didn't hit the fingertips. She had straps on because it's a hot day and she's going to play soccer after school. And she was told by her teachers that you need to go home and change, because if you don't, you're going to get detention. And her whole point was, I'm an athlete, I'm going ready to work after school. There's nothing inappropriate about what I'm wearing. It just doesn't fit the language of the letter of the law. And so this movement, I just wanted you to know that this is something that a lot of schools are dealing with right now. So if you could go to the next slide. So I'm sorry that's very small to read, but this is our current dress code. I'm not really sure on the date that the last time it was revised, but if you look at some of the language, it does seem a little dated. The one area that I wanted to bring to your attention are the numerical numbers. If you can see numbers 1 through 8, those are specific guidelines of the dress code. So for example, no exposed undergarments, no low-cut shirts or pajama pants, and so forth. What I did is I highlighted the parts of the dress code that pertain particularly targeting females. So things like no low-cut shirts, no space between shirt and pants, no backless, strapless, or one-shoulder shirt or blouses, no tops with less than 1-inch straps, no skirts, dresses, and shorts worn shorter than the fingertips when extended at your side. So I just kind of wanted to give you a context of how our current dress code kind of teeters on that side where it could be viewed as targeting females over our male students. Now I show you this picture on the right. This is I took this picture of one of our students today. She's on the cross-country team, so dressed appropriately for going to practice afterwards. And if you look, technically her shorts would be a violation of our dress code because they do not hit her fingertips. But I mean, this is typical high school wear. She's wearing a sweatshirt. I would never really deem this to be inappropriate. I don't find it offensive at all. And I think there's a lot of our students kind of have this vantage point that, coming to school sometimes is very difficult to meet the letter of the law of our current dress code. So are there any questions so far in terms of, okay, great. So one of the things I want to point out is that, you can go to the next slide. One of the things I want to point out with our dress code as we want to make it a little bit more inclusive, and I'll talk about the policy changes that we're proposing. One of the big issues at the high school is hats, and just so you know, this is also an issue that has gotten the eye of many schools. Long Meadow High School currently allows their students to wear hats, and I think for quite some time. I don't think it's a new thing. At ELHS, as the current hat policy is very inconsistently enforced in classrooms. There are some teachers who are not bothered by it and allow students to wear hats, and there are some teachers who don't like it and don't allow students to wear hats. I think it sends our students a very mixed message. I don't believe in having policies in which we're not all on board to support. When we go into classrooms, oftentimes they see me come in, or one of the guys come in, and they take it off because they know that they're not supposed to wear it. I was actually on the phone with one of you guys today, and a student was walking to lunch with the hat and immediately saw me and took the hat on. So the kids, they're savvy enough to know that in some classrooms it's okay, in some classes it's not. Now, we don't want to go into classrooms and embarrass teachers and that kind of thing, but it does send students a mixed message. So some of the questions we were considering when we were debating the hat thing, and I might point out too that this was supported by our school council, which is consisting of 3 parents, 3 students, 3 teachers, and 3 administrators. So we have vetted this out many times. Actually, this is many years we've been vetting it out, but this year we kind of said we need to make a decision and clean up the dress code. So some of the questions we're considering is, should we eliminate having a policy that is not consistently enforced? Does it send students a mixed message? And I thought this was really powerful. RJ pulled today our dress code violations, so we have the ability to see what violations are prominent at the high school. And in the last 3 years, there have been only 4 documented dress code violations. Now and they've not been in the classroom. So it's a situation where a teacher sees a kid in the hallway with a hat and says, "Hey, you guys got to call this kid down," and we deal with that. There are some kids that often, are constant violators. We just feel that suspending a kid for wearing a hat is just not something that seems the right thing to do, but we do have conversations with our students when the teachers bring them down. The other question is, do we want to formally discipline teachers who don't enforce the policy? If we go this route of, we need to follow the policy, that means having some very difficult conversations with teachers, and I think we would all agree that that's not necessarily a good policy as well. And the last one, do we want to have better relationships with students or battle the hat wearing every day? So for example, in the morning, when we greet students in the main lobby, the first thing that I want to say to them is, "Hey, how was your weekend? Did you have a good night?" But when a kid comes in the hallway with a hat on, the first thing I say is, "Take your hat off." And it just sets this really negative tone and you'll hear all the times, "Well, so-and-so let me wear the hat, and why can't we?" So it's a constant battle with some of the students in our building, and I will say this, that many of them are like chronic abusers of the hat policy. So when we were debating this with our school council, we kind of looked at how the current hat policy is being enforced, and we thought it might be wise to just be transparent. We want to have a policy that is followed. So what we have before you today in terms of hats is hats and other headwear in open spaces must allow the face to be visible and not intervene with the line of sight to any student or staff. So if a student is wearing a hat, and by the way, the trend now, they don't wear the hats like probably when we all were in high school, or really low, and a lot of the kids will wear the hat backwards, and I have, you can see that young man in that picture right now. I caught him in the hallway, and he's actually wearing a visor, and he's wearing the new thing is to wear the visor with the thing flipped up. I don't know if you've caught a lot of that. So we're not seeing a lot of kids like wearing it, so they can't cover their face. But if they do, we've always had the discretion to say, "I can't see your face, can you remove your hat?" Same thing with hoodies. So the hat piece wouldn't really change that much what currently is in practice, and that is hats in the classroom will be at the discretion of the classroom teacher. So those teachers who would prefer that hats not be worn in the classroom, that would withhold, and those teachers who allow it, that will withhold. The idea is not to send a mixed message to students and have a policy in place that is the practice of the building. So that's the hat piece. By the way, that's a picture of, we sell hats at the high school during the wintertime. The other thing I want to point out is, since we're on the issue of equity, a lot of our girls, I think, get away wearing hats way more than the boys, because they wear like the cute berets or they wear the winter hat. And when you look at the kids that have been sent down for the hat policies, it's usually a boy, but a girl can walk by with headgear more easily than I think some of our male students. So that's kind of the full, where we came to with the issue of the hats, and we are, obviously want to hear your thoughts on it. So
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll be the old stick in the mud.
Okay.
I'll be the opposite side of it.
Okay.
right? Rules are rules. Staff is to support the rules and the policies. And if they shouldn't have to be told, they should know. So if the kid's got a hat on and they're in their class, whether you like it on or not, they have to take it off. Hats go in lockers, hats go in backpacks, hats exit your head when you get into the school. Why? Because there's rules because in life there's rules. You're gonna have a job someday where you can't wear a hat, or you might have to, I don't know, whatever it is, So I guess I feel it's okay to tell a kid that there's rules to follow. And I know there's a lot of rules for our kids to follow. So I'm just using this, I'm playing the opposite
definitely. I
side
get
of it
it, yeah.
here. Because I know my guy came in with the Statue of Liberty headband on over Spirit Week, and he was told it was a hat and had to come off. And he said, it's not a hat, it's a headband, and girls can wear headbands, so why can't I wear my headband? So I get it, I've seen this, and I would say, I feel that I personally wouldn't want to see hats just everywhere. But I think that there are special occasions, Spirit Week, or if you're supporting your team, or if you're, if there's something special happening, maybe that's a way of introducing it so they can do it at certain times. But I don't know. I do see some of the other things on the dress code. I get it. I send my middle schooler in and I'm just like, go like this. You know what I mean? And you see them doing this because no shorts are long enough without them being really dorky. But there's a level. Like, at what point do we as adults say, whoa, you can't wear those in this school? So I guess I get a little concerned with that. I don't have a problem with a skinny strap. I don't care. But are things that, and let's face it, there are things on that are distracting. And so we want them to, I don't want to say being modest because that sounds sexist, but we want all of our kids to dress so that, we're here to learn. So those are just my thoughts, just to say, I don't find anything offensive necessarily about a hat, but I feel, especially from a staff perspective, this is a policy. Why do we even have to discuss this with you? That's it. I don't know.
I totally understand and appreciate your position.
I just
totally.
That's
I just think we're kind of at a frustration level in that we don't want to suspend students for hats, and we don't want to write teachers up for not enforcing it. It's a very tough policy to enforce, which is why we felt give the teachers the discretion to make that, since it's in practice we have a policy right now that isn't followed. In practice it is the teacher discretion. If you go into any high school classroom, you'll see some teachers that allow it and some teachers don't. And I totally agree. One of the things we always talk about is that we're expected as the administration of the school to police the appropriateness of dress code, which I really believe, even as a parent, that really a lot of that should come from home. And I think that's where the appropriateness piece comes into play. One of the things I hear a lot is that students should be dressing like as they're going to the workplace. Well, if that's true, then they can't wear sweatpants. They can't wear yoga pants. There's it's subjective. It really is, and that's a difficult part of all of this.
Yeah, but then why is yoga pants okay, but pajama bottoms aren't?
Correct.
You know what
There's
I'm saying?
a lot
So
of
like if we let this go, then in 5 years is someone else going to come in front of us and go, gee, well the kids want to wear pajamas all day long. And when you get your jury duty form, it says right on it, you're not wearing pajamas, or we'll send you back for another day. So
Totally
I guess
get it.
I feel like, should we be teaching them some of the things that maybe they're not getting at home, that a rule is a rule, and apparently the teachers need to know that too. I guess that's the thing that kind of cut me a little bit, is that if it's a policy, our teachers shouldn't even question it. You can't wear the hat.
It's also hard too, Beth. We've had situations very uncomfortable as an administrator. So I'll see a student in the lunchroom. Now this is like, we're going on 12 o'clock. They've been the entire day dressed the way they are, and I have to call a parent and say, you need to come bring clothes, you need to go home and change. Well, why are you telling me at noon when they've been wearing the clothes all day long? So that's just another of the uncomfortable situations that we get into in regards to the dress code.
Did you want to add to
If I could just add something,
Rebecca?
because a lot of my dress code enforcement comes in the cafeteria. So, where we grab some of these examples. And one of the things that I really thought about, if we're in the cafeteria, you're quietly eating your lunch with your friends, you're not in class, there's no lesson going on. If the behavior is not disrupting a lesson or impacting teaching and learning at all, why am I making a point to go across the room, hey, you need to get rid of that hat? It's like, well, like, well, hello, it's just one of those kind of things. If it's not really impacting teaching and learning, how much, like, is that where we want to go with
Time and energy.
Time and energy, but also in building relationships with some of these students that, might need a little more of a pick-me-up at once than another, like another kind of shot in the,
Right,
yeah.
right, to discipline them on something else when they're.
When they're just sitting there, like, eating.
Right.
So is one of the role, one of the roles of an educator to teach and enforce manners?
Teachers have very different opinions about that, I think. I think that most would say the primary person to do that is the parents. And we take cues from our parents, but it's very difficult. Students are leaving home in these outfits that when we walk in, say, you can't wear that. And I understand that some parents leave before their kids, their kids are out the door before they are. But sometimes we get into conversations with parents that they don't think, well, there's nothing wrong with what this student is wearing. And this whole body shaming thing has become a real topic because, and it's not just male teachers now that are reluctant to call out female, because that used to be the case. I'm not going to touch that because, I don't want to be accused of saying anything inappropriate, but I think it's hitting our female teachers too that I think it's telling 4 documented dress code violations in 3 years. It's telling us that our teachers, it's not that the kids aren't violating it, trust me, that's not what's happening. It's a touchy subject. It is a really touchy subject.
The reason why I asked about the manners part though is because personally, growing up, the way I was taught is you go into a building, you take your hat off. You sit at a table, you sit at a table with your hat on. So are we now saying, well, it's new age, no manners don't matter anymore, do whatever you want?
Yeah, well, I was at the concert this week, and we had parents wearing hats on at the concert too. So
right, and
there's a lot of
for
mixed
some
messages.
of us, that irks us, right? So I was just talking about taking my daughter out to dinner. We had a soccer game. I even brought a collared shirt for after because I knew it was a nicer restaurant. We walk into the restaurant, first person I see sitting on the table with a hat on. It's just poor manners.
Yeah.
So I think to
Totally
allow
agree.
them in the
Yeah.
building because some teachers aren't enforcing them, the not wearing of it, I think it's just sending the wrong message. I think we need to help our kids know that it's a norm, that there's manners out there, and that if they go to jury duty, they can't wear a hat because they'll get sent home. With pajamas, they can't wear a hat. They go on a job interview, they can't wear a hat. So there's times you're just not allowed to wear a hat.
We agree with you 100%. Like if I had to vote on this just from a manners perspective, I am in total alignment. I think the issue is it's an unenforceable, at this point, it's not enforced consistently.
But I think it's 100% enforceable because if you have a zero tolerance for hats, nobody's going to wear a hat, and if they do,
But the way to do that is
repercussions.
I'm just letting you know, there are some, personnel things that are going to happen that, and if you guys are okay with it,
Then they can
But we have rules for a
maybe.
reason, and you can't selectively enforce rules because you happen to disagree with
I
it and
totally
you want to
agree.
be cooler with the kids,
but it's
right?
one of those things that's very,
Put
it's
it
hard,
on us.
it's,
Because I'm all about, as you said,
Yep.
doing what you say, saying what you do. So if this is the rule, then we should be following the rule, I think.
I do.
Okay.
I do think though that there are special times when we're celebrating or we're helping someone out
and we have
I think
kids
that-
wear it for religious reasons or medical
yeah,
reasons too,
yeah,
so that's a big
but-
piece of
but
it.
But those are the exceptions.
Yeah, but I guess I feel that there are times when, and then it becomes, it's a group thing. It's like everybody does it, and it's everyone's following it, and it makes it exciting because you're all wearing your red with your Spartan hats, you're this, you're that, or you're all wearing whatever you might do during a spirit week. And I think that would be a way of introducing it, and then maybe they feel like they don't have to the rest of the year.
I think this policy
It's
too
hard.
might make it more difficult for those that care about wearing hats in their classroom to enforce it, because now the student can say, well, it's allowed, why don't you just allow it? So there's more pressure on the
That
teachers.
happens now, by the way, those
But it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
So by law, so the answer for that statement today is, it's in the policy handbook, you can't do it. The answer for that, if it's changed, will be, it's completely up to me, and I'm saying you can't wear it, even though I know the teacher next door here lets you wear it, and the teacher next door here lets you wear it. I just think it becomes harder
Well, you have to become consistent.
to enforce. And I know
Well, that's the thing.
there are some teachers out there that it would just irk if
Oh,
we
it does.
allowed it carte blanche across the school.
Absolutely.
On a daily basis. It's not fair because I mean, I don't know.
But I think the
I
kids,
It's
wanted
hard.
to ask
I'm
Ally,
really not a
too.
traditional
Yeah.
person, but I don't know.
No, Ally, what's your
Yeah.
thought on that? And I'm not looking for you on the spot, just more in terms of as a student in the school, do you find a lot of kids wear hats? And if they were to have a policy like this, do you think it would just have more kids wearing hats?
I feel like I only see like a couple kids wearing hats, but I do know that it's like a big issue. Like if they're walking in the hallway, it's like take your hat off, and it's just kind of like an uncomfortable situation. Like, oh, like I'm just walking, like why? And the hats that I do see, like they said, like I don't think that they're disruptive. Like they're not like covering their face or like trying to hide anything. It's kind of just like wearing it back. Like I know one of my friends like to wear her hat because she doesn't like, I don't know, like her hair, so it makes her more comfortable to just have her hat like back, like just on, like I barely notice it, but then we're sitting in class and a teacher like takes it off her and says like you can't wear this in here, and it just kind of makes her feel uncomfortable. Like it'd make me feel uncomfortable if I felt like uncomfortable in my hair or something, just wanting to wear a hat for one day, not every day, I don't know.
And that's where I'm torn, because I can appreciate, as someone who has a lot of hair, that there are some days I just have a bad hair day and I just want to put a hat on. But then at the same time, if I need to look presentable, like if I'm coming to a meeting, the last thing I'm going to do is show up with a baseball cap on
Yeah.
because I'm having a bad hair day. So if you ever see me pull my hair back and kind of bun it, then you know I'm having a bad hair day. So I am torn on this issue because I can understand the point of where it has become a little normal, but I really understand the respect part of following rules. We have the policy in place. And like you said, they get out into the workforce, they're not going to be allowed to wear hats. And this is all about preparing them to become adults.
Can I just
Yes.
chime in quickly? I'm on the entirely opposite end of all you guys. We keep talking about the workforce and manners. We have what, about 90% of our kids go to college?
Yeah.
Every college in America allows a kid to wear a hat.
Oh, yeah. It's
For 4 years in college, I wore a hat, and when I entered the workforce, it was really easy to take it off. I mean, this is just, I don't see this as a big deal.
Yeah.
There are some teachers who, if they have a presence in their class and they don't want a kid to wear a hat, they can ask them to take it off. You know, I'm not really worried about the inconsistency of the policy if we go this route and we switch the policy to where kids are allowed to wear hats. For me, I just don't see this as the.
So when do you deem a hat inappropriate? Like they walk in
With a sombrero?
I know they can't have that because it will hide their face, but at what height, how?
Right, that's exactly, then you're
You know,
enforcing the
now
type
you're,
of hat.
you're
Right.
thinking baseball caps and the occasional like knit. So what if
We get
some,
into that debate now with girls in terms of what's a hat and what's not.
Yeah, and what's a headband and what's
versus
not.
versus beret versus
and
all these different things.
the truth is, whenever we've asked a kid to take off their hat, 9 times out of 10, they're cool with it. They get it. I think where we see some kind of, discrepancies is that, it's really hard for me to go into a classroom knowing that we have this rule, a kid's front and center with a hat on, and I feel it's embarrassing. It's got to be a little bit embarrassing for your boss to come in and blatantly you're breaking the rule and you're not dressing. And that's happened to me twice with the same teacher.
And just on that.
Well, why
on that
doesn't the
same-
teacher learn the lesson and not allow it anymore?
But on
Well,
that,
we
no,
could
just-
help
no,
them learn that
powerful
lesson.
that hat is not taken away from that kid's learning. It's not taken away from other kids learning in the class. They're not using it to take a nap in class. It's.
You're not using it to hide weapons.
so
or-
if we change this, what are we teaching our people? We are teaching our staff that they don't have to follow policy. So then what is our staff not going to want to follow? And we're going to be thinking about that in another 4 years. This to me is almost more a staff issue than a
But
kid issue.
and it's not. And for me, I think the big part here is we come before you guys every year, and there's always things that we tweak in our policies because we see them as things that need to be updated. This is a policy that was devised in the 90s. We had hats up until the 90s. So when Greg was in school here, Mr. Thompson, kids were allowed to wear hats. If you go to Long Meadow High School, kids wear hats now. And we have staff members that came to us from Long Meadow High School, and I can tell you one, every single day she lets kids wear a hat in her class and she doesn't see it as a problem.
And can I just piggyback on that?
I'm sorry.
I do want to piggyback, because I definitely understand the staff part of this, but I want to say that our staff that allows it, it's really because they're putting the students' learning first.
Right.
Because there are some kids.
Wait a minute, you can't learn without hats on?
Some students, and
We're just happy they're here.
We talk about social, we talk about more and more about social emotional learning, that kind of thing. There are some students who just struggle with their classes, with their teachers, with the construct of school. And if the difference between them staying in the classroom and giving whatever that lesson is a try is to let them wear the hat versus the take your hat off and now we're going to shut down and now I need to see my guidance counselor and now I need this and now I'm just going to tune you out. I think our staff who allows it, even though they're not supposed to, is really coming from that.
A good place.
From a good place. Of, I'd rather teach you what you need to learn in this class than battle with you about the hat. And then I know we've had conversation about the manners, and I kind of been doing a lot of thinking about that, like about, we talk about college, we talk about life after high school, and as we've alluded to, there are some, like I said, every college in America will let you wear your hat, but not every professor in America will let you wear your hat. And we say that every, your jobs you can't. Some jobs you can, and sometimes
Some jobs require it.
right, some jobs require it. And one of the things from a disciplinary standpoint, if we really look at discipline, like further than just punishment, like we could easily punish all the kids and all the teachers for wearing hats. But honestly, like if we're going to spend our time on it, I'd rather have the conversation with a kid who, is just being disrespectful to that teacher. Like she's asked you 10 times to take the hat off. I know you can in the hallway, you can at lunch, you can wherever. But, she's asking you out of respect for her in her class or him in his class to leave it on your desk. I'd rather be teaching that idea of a social construct between two people than just you can't wear it anywhere because that's where we think it is. So that's just my take
The
on
other
it.
thing is, and I could maybe with a hat, whatever. The hoodies, heck no. I can't even wrap my mind around that.
Well,
The hoodies? Really? Hoodies?
I had an issue with that too, Beth. I will tell you this, but when we went to school council with our 3 parents on the council with us, they were like, "That's keep it as is." They didn't see any problem with it whatsoever.
I can understand where the hats are coming from with the hoodies.
Hoodies, man. That to me is just
I'm totally away from the hoodies.
And you don't see
I don't
wearing
know, I get the
hats.
hoodie more than the hat myself.
And here is why we have this issue.
Had more hats, I could.
You're usually doing
It's a
something
manners thing though, but it's the whole
Yeah,
principle
but it's
more than
just-
anything.
But do you feel
read
it's a
the number-
safety issue or a security issue with the hats? I know you said you wear it backwards, but are you gonna find that trends change and
Yeah.
they're now gonna wanna wear it forward and now we can't see who's walking in?
So-
Or the cameras in certain hallways?
I guess for me, the reason I don't see that as an issue, and I've had that same conversation with a lot of
Yeah.
teachers who have used that as they're out for this policy. That is only gonna be a situation if that is somebody who does not go to our school. If we're talking about students who, let's say there's a student who vandalized a locker, the majority of the students, we know what they wear on a daily basis. I can identify them by their coats, I can identify them by their hats.
Maybe they walk.
I can see which classrooms they're going into. So like that student does something and then they go to their math class, I know where they are. So I don't see a kid wearing a hat as a security issue in terms of something that is gonna keep us from changing policy.
A lot of this is trends too. And we could argue this, or we could decide to do this whenever, tonight, next week, whatever. And in September, you guys might be coming back to us for something else because it's changed. And that's where we're at. That's where we have to be careful of. A lot of this is trends.
But I also think there's a real big, strong message in that if we have policies in place, they have to be enforced.
Absolutely.
And if that's not happening, then we have to ask ourselves, what's the disconnect? Is the policy relevant? Does it need to be adjusted? And I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I can see where that is. But again, I'm kind of on the fence here. I
So
understand.
totally get
staff
it.
wear hats, staff wear hats.
Staff can wear staff do not have a dress code, so they
Do
can,
staff wear hats during the day?
no.
Why not? Could
They
they?
choose that.
They could.
They could,
They could, really?
they wear flip-flops,
They wear
and the
shorts.
kids can't wear
Do some hats,
flip-flops.
they'll do some.
There's
staff
there's
wear
no
hats.
dress code to prevent them from doing so.
That would be a union, I think that would be a union issue.
That's a whole nother issue.
That's a whole different
You're opening up a
conversation.
can of worms we're not ready to go down. I am almost like, I know, like, when I first heard this, I was like, I was like, I don't see what the big issue is, because I can, like, again, I can appreciate days I want to wear a hat.
Yeah.
Would I wear a hat every day? No. No. And I think I spoke with you earlier about, I said, it's almost like the cell phones. Kids have the cell phones out all the time. We had it as a no policy, and so you're constantly like, put your phone away, put your phone away. Now we allow the cell phones for various reasons, and you still have teachers that have the students put them away when they come into the classroom. So now you're disciplining kids less or annoying kids less about putting phones away because you kind of allow it. And they seem to be doing well with it, right?
Yeah, those days. Yeah. Those days.
Give it a day.
Yeah, give them the
Those days.
So, you know, my thing is, though, if you allow the hats, it's not like you're going to have a classroom of 25 kids and all
No.
25 kids are wearing hats
I
that
don't
day
think
because
so.
now you're allowing it.
When I visited Long Meadow, we actually visited, they have you can wear hats. I wasn't blown away like, oh my goodness, it was a couple kids and it was in the hallways we'd see them, so it wasn't really
Then, on that point, let me
Yeah.
ask you this.
Yeah.
How many kids wear hats?
in our building on a given day.
Well, how many, I guess the question is, your answer's gonna be different based on the number of kids who wear them now versus the ones who would allow it. Where would the rule would change?
If it changes the whole baseball program, we'll wear it pretty much every day.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
There's a handful of
All right,
kids,
so
there's a
given
handful of
that-
kids who try to get away with it now. There's
Now-
probably more kids who, you know, they respect the rule now, but they would wear it if you did change the rule. Is that gonna be like 100% of the boys? Probably not. You know, but
There's
there'll be
sports
some.
teams, you
Yeah,
know.
kids who play sports.
And then other kids, like you said, in the winter it gets cold, so I find myself like in the cafeteria, take off all your Spartan hats, please, like.
That we sell to them at lunch.
Yes.
Right, you know, and
Well,
Like, he tells me the school's
there's a
cold,
problem.
and I say, you gotta take it off anyway and be cold, you know?
And to your point, a lot of the girls wear really cute hats. They're not offensive, like the little berets, and no one says anything to them. But we're targeting the boys.
So, we've obviously have spent a lot of time on this, and I know it seems, you know, like a moot point this, and Mr. Chair, I'm just giving you one last minute. Is there anything you want to
It's
add?
very complex for me because
I know.
the rule that Dr. Fiscal was the one that we put in 1995. So it is 23 years old.
Yeah.
Woo!
I do respect that, but I'm gonna have to point to Mr. Page here. I guess I was a little more passionate about the reason for no hats than he is. So we're gonna put the administration in a no-win situation by voting down the hat policy, something that they clearly, as Mr. Page has eloquently said, he does not philosophically agree with. I philosophically agreed with no hats, and I was a bear. When you walked in, you didn't have that hat, I said hi, then I said, give me a hat. I'm sorry, that's the way I was. And we had no problems with it, up to a point. It is an aggravation, I will be 100%. So it is complex. I mean, we're caught
It
between
is.
two worlds here.
Yeah, we are.
It
If we
is, I
say the
agree.
administration no, they put them in a very, very difficult situation.
So since it's been 23 years, would anyone be willing to let them have a chance to like pilot it or trial it and see how it goes?
I'm annoyed with the staff.
Huh?
I'm annoyed with the staff. A rule is a rule. I can't get past that. I know it's not about the staff. I get it's about the kids. I know that, but I'm just like,
Well, I think some staff will think it's just a non-starter, it's a non-issue. So they're just not gonna weigh in one way or another.
And to that point, you know, there's disciplinary issues at the high school that, for us, are very important. You know, and there's things we do take seriously, and there's things we hammer kids on, like if a kid cuts a class, you know, like,
Well,
we don't want kids doing that type
You
of
gotta
stuff.
pick your bat, you basically gotta pick your bat.
Exactly.
But, you know, if a kid
And
goes,
I get that, and I
if
can
a kid's
appreciate.
gonna put on a hat, but he's getting good grades, and he's got good attendance, and he's not misbehaving in the school,
Right.
Well, that's
that's,
where,
that's,
decided
that's,
to single him out.
that's
that's the
why,
kid I'm gonna go after.
Yeah.
You know, that, I don't,
that's why I said you gotta pick your battles, and there's some habitual offenders, and you can, to your point, Frank, you said, if the kid's going into a math class and a locker was vandalized, you know where he is.
and I can tell you the kid in that picture who has the visor on takes at least 2 AP classes,
Yep.
you know?
So,
Well, this is the first reading.
it's first reading, so.
Okay. So the only question that I have right now is, do we just kind of take a
What
little?
are we gonna ask for modifications?
Can I finish though? Because we do have some other
And
parts.
that's, I know, that's what I was
There's a lot.
trying to, we should kind of.
I knew the hats is going to get you, because to be honest with you, it's been a debatable thing
Yeah.
amongst our staff, amongst our school council,
Yeah.
it's not a comfortable issue, but I will say it again, whichever direction you go in, I will respect, I just don't like having rules and policies in place that aren't enforced, and that's where I'm at with it, so.
Okay.
All right.
So
All right,
the,
so we'll move on from the hats.
okay,
for now.
so I hope you've had a chance to see the rest of the dress code.
Yes.
When we were talking dress code, we were looking at two things. We want to promote a safe learning environment where dress does not interfere with the successful and safe completion of learning activities. So think PE classes, think the science labs, where dress could present an issue for students. And we also are very, very adamant, as we have been working a lot this year on diversity, inclusivity at the high school. We want to promote an equitable and inclusive learning environment which the dress code does not negatively impact any group based on race, sex, gender, identity, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, social, economic status, or body type or size. That's a very powerful statement, and it's one that we really philosophically are aligned to. We added a little bit of verbiage to kind of help parents. The responsibility of proper dress and grooming rests primarily with the student and his or their parents or guardians. We ask that students and parents work to ensure that the goals outlined above are met with the student's school dress attire. So what would be allowable? And again, keep in mind, we're trying to keep it very gender neutral. Students must wear clothing including both a shirt, pants, shorts, skirt, or the equivalent, and shoes. Sounds pretty basic, but you'd be surprised. Clothing must have fabric.
I did circle one about the word shoes. I mean, that can be taken as what Mr. Page has on, what I have on.
Right.
That shoes does not include sneakers or flip-flops. Don't we allow sneakers and flip-flops?
We allow sneakers.
Well, I was wondering if it was like
Shoes
footwear.
generic?
Footwear.
Like you
Is that
put like
generic?
footwear, so I
Yeah.
thought the same word too.
So like in a
shoe.
PE class, you wouldn't obviously wear
Yeah, but you
flip-flops.
change the word shoes to footwear.
Okay,
That's what it's saying, just because it's
Okay.
generic.
Shoes sounds too
That's fine.
More
specific.
generic.
you got it. Footwear is good. Clothing must have fabric in the front, the back, and sides. Clothing must cover undergarments.
Yeah, I have a question about
Yes,
that.
yeah.
My son wears underwear that goes down about his knees. And then no, but
He's
he
gonna want you
does.
to
He
say
wears
this on
the-
live
you know,
TV.
yeah, but then I'm just thinking of thongs.
What about them?
All right, you don't have to have a really long skirt to not cover that. And if your clothing must cover your undergarments, all I'm saying is I get that we don't want to hurt the girls. I respect it. I've got girls. And mine used to wear bike shorts under their skirts all the time, and I'm sure that their skirts probably didn't meet the dress code. But they had bike shorts on underneath them in case you fall down the stairs. Things like that happen.
Right.
But I think, I'm like, there's gotta be some level that we, like, where do you, I don't know if you can use your arm, but I just
Are you
think
talking about the
that
length of
length
things?
of things. I get that the arms, the fingertip thing is difficult,
Well, I think that,
but that's kind of.
I think the next one maybe hits on that. Fabric covering all private parts and may not be see-through. So, I mean, we could adjust it if you want to give me a
Yeah, I don't
suggestion.
know. You know what I mean? I think that you're allowing shorts that can, like what is considered a private part? You know, like at what level of height to the buttocks is considered private? And kids are going to push it if they can push it.
Well, I think, I feel so awkward right now, but if you're,
Dr. Flynn went through all.
I know, if you're.
I see what you
it's
guys
hard.
put in this, and I get what you're going
So
for here, and I
It is.
don't
Your rear end
disrespect it.
showing is your privates, I think we all can agree.
Right.
And so that student would be someone we would have a conversation with.
Remember, we did this in 2003. Took some male students into the gym.
Oh, that's right.
Took the female students into
boy.
the auditorium.
Good luck.
I had to present in the gym as assistant principal.
Fun
Well, we'll
time.
go-
No, this is not
I'll let
easy. It's
you guys
constantly,
know.
it's constantly in the papers.
Totally.
We'll go through it, I'll play
right.
it.
Yeah.
No, let me just ask this at this point. Are you having a lot of problems with this?
Well, no, they're
And
good.
this,
So,
because where
so
we
what I
are.
would say is that we, on a daily, like, for example, the minute it got warm,
Yeah.
spaghetti straps
Yeah.
came out, shorty shorts came out, tank tops that weren't necessarily fitting, So I don't consider it a problem, I just, that we're not enforcing, it's not being followed.
All right.
And I will tell you this, I've thought a lot about this. A couple years ago, I had a community member that lives in the area call me and was just ripping me about, these girls walking to school, and in my day, it's a societal issue, and I don't know if there's a right, wrong, it's so
I don't think
subjective.
there is a right.
And as a mother of girls,
Right.
if you go to any store these days, if you get them down to as you said, you're wearing Bermudas, and
Yeah.
That's just not cool.
No, that's why, you know,
So,
You can't even find them anymore.
That's
It's
right.
so hard to find them. Like
I mean,
had to
even
look
just running
everywhere.
Allie, when you go to Old Navy, it's either 3-inch or 5-inch.
5-inch, right.
That's it. That's it.
And then you're in like mom pants after that.
Correct.
And they actually.
Or make your own.
Mom jeans.
Yeah.
Mom shorts.
But no, I can appreciate like, especially like the joggers, you know, that the kids want to wear.
I mean, one of the things that annoys me is the LO bean slippers all the girls wear. They're wearing their slippers,
I
but
know.
they love it and it's comfortable. Keeps their feet warm.
Yeah.
All right, so moving right along.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Clothing must be suitable for all scheduled classroom activities, including physical education, science labs, and other activities where unique hazards and situations exist. Now, what is not allowable? Clothing may not depict, advertise, or advocate the use of alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, or other controlled substance. That has not changed. Clothing may not depict pornography, nudity, or sexual acts. Clothing may not use or depict hate language, speech targeting groups based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, identity, religion, social economic status, or body type or size. And this one I did a lot of research on. I don't know how familiar you are with the case Tinker versus Des Moines. It was a very landmark went all the way to the Supreme Court. And essentially it was about a student's free speech when it comes to their dress code. It was primarily during the Vietnam War where there was a lot of protests. And the court said that you can't limit a student's freedom of speech, with the exception is if it causes a substantial disruption to school. But the Supreme Court did not define that. So I've talked to multiple attorneys and they all kind of waver on it. And basically what they've told me is that a substantial disruption is in the act. It's not proactive. So if a kid's, let's say, for example, is wearing a Confederate flag, I really can't touch that unless kids see him and then there's a melee and now we've got a problem and then I can but I can't do it preventatively. And I do want to make you aware that there are schools in this area, such as Amherst, that actually have that they can't wear these types of but they're in danger of, if one person, challenges that, that could potentially be a big lawsuit. So we thought it was smart to just put it in there and just let them know what that term means, substantial disruption of school, and then you will be asked to remove your offensive clothing. Because we do have students, we have had students have, for example, worn the Confederate flag. None of us agree with it. One of the ways we've approached that is having a conversation with the student and their parent. Hey, we know you have a freedom of speech here, but it makes people feel uncomfortable. Please take that in consideration. And that's really all we can do with that. Right. So that's the proposed new dress code.
But I do want to comment, if you look back at like the old dress code compared to this one, I like how it is very generic, because there are times where it is very, you look at all the old ones and it really does target the girls.
Yeah.
Whereas this can be really go either way. Mm-hmm. You know, that you talk about the fabric in the front, back, and sides, cover undergarments, because you get kids who can wear, the boys who can wear their pants down low.
Yep.
With everything hanging out, and that's just as inappropriate.
Absolutely.
On the flip side.
Can I ask a question, Dr. Freund and Mrs. Smith? The third bullet there, not allowable.
Okay.
Clothes may not use or depict.
Mm-hmm.
Hate speech?
Yeah, the third bullet.
Yep.
You told us this. We had to add those certain words to our regulations, pregnancy and pregnancy-related conditions. Should that be added in there too?
Does body type or size?
We had to add in our policy
Okay.
terms pregnancy or pregnancy-related condition.
We're getting updated.
Look at you,
We're getting
kids.
updated.
Oh, that was for
I would agree, I think that's for protection.
It is discrimination.
It's
discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly check with the attorney. I think body type probably would cover that.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so, because the pregnancy, we've got some language changes for our policy suggested by the Mass Association of School Committees. But I do think, to Mr. Smith's point, that it was protecting, the pregnancy was viewed as a protection and not necessarily included in a dress code type scenario.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
all right, so does anyone else have any questions or comments on that? Are we comfortable voting on that tonight, or do we take this as a first reading like we do our other policies?
Well, since it is a first reading, are we going to ask for any changes?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want to have time to look it over?
Yeah, I want to have time to look it over, because I see there's a whole lot of merit here, but I just I gotta
Process.
I think I want to process.
And one thing I would add, I hope you would consider that Deidre mentioned it earlier, this could be a situation where we come back to, we go with it, and then we come back to you, 3 months into the school year, report back to you, see how it's going. We get feedback from our teachers, we can get feedback from our students. That's another, way to kind of make sure that we're making the right decision.
But to everybody else's point, if it is a policy change, let's remain consistent.
Did you go and borrow? Did you go and look at other, like throughout the whole?
The whole country.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of this was on the ACLU site, a lot of the recommended language.
We pulled some from Belchertown High Schools.
You think theirs is real
Maybe
big?
it's just the length. I'm still having an issue with the length of, now, in the 70s, I heard, I was too young to even, that the skirts were beyond short back then. So I'm sure, I don't know what they did back then. I think they just let it ride. But I have an issue with, because I think that there's a fine line between an acceptable short and one that still covers the private parts, but is just, and I guess there's gotta be a way to define that without offending anybody.
I just don't want to walk around with a ruler all day long.
Right.
And the other thing I want to mention too, I just don't think it's fair is, and this is just the truth, the girls that get caught or get called down or get questioned have a certain body type. A lot of the girls that are petite, we don't see a lot of them coming down, and I think that, girls that are a little ample, that I have a real issue with it. I think it sends them a bad message, that we're only calling out certain girls. So it's just another thing to consider when you're thinking about this.
All right, so it sounds like we should take some time for you to
Yeah.
process this and kind of think about it, because some of what you presented tonight wasn't in our.
Yep, sure, I get it.
It's good for us to take a look at it.
But I think keep in mind, one of the options that has been mentioned is a possible pilot too, as we come back.
Okay. All right, so.
Okay.
Did you want any language changes for the second reading, or do you want something about a pilot?
No, I want to look at it and think about it and.
But I think the pilot should be something we can consider.
Between
Yeah.
now and the
Everybody
next
else feels about it, what?
informational packet, if you have thoughts around pilot language,
Okay.
maybe
All right.
send them to me and I can send them to
Okay,
That would be good.
the high school administration.
all right,
Okay,
you can do that.
all right. So we're good with dress code? And we'll move on to 5.2, proposed changes to the East Long Meadow High School class rank. And I just want to say, John Martin, thank you
He's
for
being
being
so
so
patient.
patient.
I know, you should have done this one
when we
first.
have
I don't know that I was
discussions-
presenting as being very patient, though. I appreciate that nonetheless.
Discussions always go long here, yes.
What's hard for me is keeping my mouth shut. The topic was great, I just have a hard time staying quiet. I looked at Rich at one point and I said, I tried to whisper, can I speak up? No. Don't say a word.
But you can always call Beth and let her know some of your
Yeah.
I
thoughts
know,
to
I
help
know how
her
you
think.
feel, maybe it'll help
Should
me
help
out.
her process.
I think it was well covered.
Okay, so thank you.
All right.
Go.
So as you know, you had asked us to take a look at the proposed elimination of class rank. It was one of your SMART goals for this year. And so I asked my guidance staff if they would conduct some research on the topic. For many years, the issue of class rank has been a contested subject for our students and students across the country, so it's not just at East Long Meadow High School. This year, we were asked by the school committee to take a closer look at class rank to determine if it was still necessary. We collected data from various high schools and colleges, as well as college admissions departments throughout the country. During the process, we looked to answer 3 very pointed questions around class rank, and they were: how are candidates evaluated from high schools that rank as opposed to those that do not? Do you prefer to evaluate students who have a specific, or is it percentile rank sufficient? And can applicants from high schools that do not rank be at a disadvantage when it comes to merit-based scholarships? So these are the 3 questions that we kind of framed this conversation. And I am going to turn it over to John because he and his colleagues did the bulk of the research.
Sure. So, I'll try to keep my comments brief and then address any questions that might come up from the committee. We did exactly what Dr. Flanagan just explained, reached out to high schools in our area, and really it's a spattering across the high schools in Western Mass. Some rank still, and some don't. And the reasons I think that some still continue to, probably much like the reason that we do, very similar to the discussion around dress code and hats, is a lot of times these issues, they've remained for a long time, and so it's sort of one of those deals, if it's not broke, don't fix it. One of the things that, you know, I've looked at a lot over the last several years with my administrators and colleagues is how does the issue of rank serve all of our students best, right? We are working in an environment where if we have 200 kids per class, it's our responsibility to try to maximize the learning experience for all 200 kids. I don't necessarily know that an individual rank does that. I think there are a lot of other factors at play that influence a student's journey here at East Long Meadow High School, and I think for a lot of kids, I think Sam did a wonderful job with his presentation. I've seen in my work, as we look at a lot in our work now, the emotional side of, the social emotional side of this journey, my experiences around rank have not all been the most pleasant as it relates to students' mental health. And these are kids, if you look at them in their totality, who they are as young men and women, they are phenomenal in every way and are only defining themselves by a number. And if they don't reach that number, they feel less than. And they don't allow that body of work that they've done such an amazing job of over 4 years really speak for them. And so I've seen that.
Can I just chime in one
Sure,
thing? It's
sure.
one of the most difficult things I have to do as a principal every single year is, you know, the kids, the whole, the valedictorian versus salutatorian race is just so intense. The kids are, you know, doing all kinds of crazy things to find out what their competition is and where they rank. So there's that piece of it that feels really uneasy for me. But having to tell students who are like 0.5%, you know, the percentage is sometimes so close that you didn't make it, and then to see them completely break down in tears. I mean, it's really, really hard. And, you know, to John's point, in the colleges that we're talking to, they're looking at the total kid. What sports did you play? What community service things did you do? Did you give back to your school and to your community? The GPA is what really makes or break it, but all those other pieces come in. Very rarely do you hear them talk about, well, what was your class rank? And John, you know, can talk about some of the colleges that we spoke to directly and asked them that very pointed question.
Sure. So let me first speak to the high schools. I'll just give you a few kind of quick sound bites relative to what some of our local high schools shared with us, okay? We did away with class rank and valedictorian approximately 15 years ago. We honor our graduates with first, second, and third honors based upon GPA, but that is it. So to kind of make it real for East Long Meadow High School students, that type of system would look like this. Rather than having a valedictorian per se, you may identify our high honors students with a certain sash and our regular honors students with another sash. And again, I know that would all require further discussion, but these are just sort of quick sound bites. Another high school, we do not rank students. We keep track of valedictorians and salutatorians, but that is it. Only when a college is unwilling to consider a student for a monetary award will we determine and report a student's decile, and only for that one situation. What'll happen sometimes, if schools can't provide a specific rank, oftentimes I speak to admissions counselors. Now we rank, but when we get scholarship paperwork or scholarship paperwork, not just from private organizations like, you know, Mr. Picheri, you're involved with from outside of the school, but even colleges who offer scholarships through their universities, in the forms that they fill out, they'll often ask for percentile. Is the student in the top 10%, top 25%, top 50%? Another high school, this was sort of an interesting take. I don't know that this is the route we would want to go, but yes, not advertised to the student. However, it is listed on their transcript. It is also reported to College Board when students apply. So that's sort of like, it's a way for administrators and the school to keep logistical information on students without presenting it to the students themselves. Okay, now I'll go through what we try to do in the colleges. We try to get a cross-section of colleges and universities from around the country that represented what we would consider top tier, mid-tier, and then below. So we got a good section of every school, okay? I'll start with the Ivies. This one came from Princeton. We understand that many schools are increasingly choosing not to use rank. Class rank provides us with additional information regarding where a student's GPA stands within their class, but is only one of many factors that we consider in the admissions process. obviously not a factor we would consider if a school did not rank. When we do see class rank, it is noted along with the GPA, the rigor of the student's course load, and the transcript itself. When class rank is not offered, it does not disadvantage the student, as we have all of the other aforementioned factors to give us an idea of the student's academic record at their respective high school. While class rank is naturally more specific than a percentile, we will still know percentile if this is what the school uses. Remember, the Ivies don't offer merit scholarships, so that merit question that we pose to other colleges and universities is a moot point, okay? A student's rank is not going to affect financial aid, especially given, for a lot of reasons, but the Ivies just don't do that. Cornell, we look at the individual student's entire body of work, including their academic transcript, SAT, ACT scores, extracurricular activities, essays, and recommendations. The class rank is one piece of an overall picture. We do not have a preference either having or not having a class rank for a student. We do not offer merit-based scholarships. We meet 100% of the need of our students. Now let me bounce to the NESCAC. For anybody in the room that's unfamiliar, we call those the small Ivies, okay? Amherst, Williams, Bates, Bowdoin, Tufts, Trinity. There's several more.
You didn't say Colby?
Middlebury.
Middlebury, Colby. I promise you, I didn't omit those intentionally.
Started with
I should have had it highlighted.
Yeah, you could have, right.
So Bates, for candidates being evaluated from high schools that don't rank, we look at the highest GPA and compare the student in relation to the highest GPA if there are multiple students. Let me explain how that works for those of you that don't know. We have school profiles or secondary school reports, and what we're asked on those reports are two questions relative to GPA. If John Martin is applying to college, what is John Martin's GPA? What is the highest GPA in the class?
Right.
So that's where that information comes from. Just a point of clarification. Colby, we practice a holistic review for all applicants, and we will include any academic and personal information we have available to us in that review. We see a wide variety of transcripts, grading scales, etc. You all are sensing a theme here. I don't need to beat a dead horse. We get out of the NESCACs, some miscellaneous schools. I only call them miscellaneous. They don't fall in the Ivy or the NESCACs. Springfield College, we find there are a mix of schools that report class rank, some that only report a percentile, and some that don't report at all. Candidates who do not have a class rank are looked at equally to candidates who do report a class rank. Western New England University, we do not look at rank since it is different for each school. We really do pay attention to it. We rarely, pay attention to it in the reviewing process. There's no advantage or disadvantage. University of Hartford, just another school here. How are candidates evaluated from high schools that rank as opposed to those who do not? Candidates are evaluated in the same fashion. Please see what factors are considered in the process. I also reached out to some state universities. A huge number of our kids are applying to state universities, and it's essentially the same. For schools that have rank, we'll use it as part of the admissions decision. For schools that do not have rank, we won't. Where it can become an issue, and this is where we would use what I was just speaking to you about. What is the highest GPA in the class? Okay, where a presidential scholarship or a merit-based scholarship could be warranted based on somebody who was at the top of their class. John Martin, the number one student in the class is 4.50. John Martin is 4.50. We're clearly speaking. You get it. So they can certainly decipher that I'm at the top of the class.
Right.
That's the research that
High schools that we talked about.
yeah, I went over the high school piece first.
Okay.
And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on behalf of my colleagues and do my best.
Can you formally state the recommendation?
Yeah.
What is the recommendation?
Because we came to you with looking into this, and
Yeah.
because like we've heard, we've experienced
I'm happy to, speak personally, to answer your question.
I think it's in
We have an official one.
I know, I just want to bet on it.
So based on the research conducted by the ELHS Guidance Department and for the reasons outlined above, we recommend eliminating class rank for the 2018-19 school year.
So it would be
Next year.
Next year.
starting next
Yeah.
year. Well, this is to
Starting next
me,
year in September.
as you know, because I've asked and I've pushed it. I think it's a great thing.
Well,
I
that's
do.
what
We agree.
Yeah.
It's gotta be phased in.
Right, so
Is
then,
this,
go ahead.
is this for everyone or for the incoming freshmen?
Could be for everyone.
So how are the juniors gonna handle it? The ones that are, so it would be the students that are juniors now, and they have a good feel of where they're falling.
So the class rank, the students really that only really know about it and talk about it are like the top.
4 or 5
It's not on our
kids, yeah.
transcripts, am I correct, John? It's not on the transcript, it's not on the report card?
No, currently it exists on the transcript.
Transcript only, so
Absolutely.
it's not a point of contention or discussion.
So Dr. Flanagan, as someone who sees a lot of transcripts during scholarship season, transcript, correct? And the only thing that will be different is that right-hand line will no longer be there that says like X out of 220 kids. That line will be eliminated.
Yeah.
Other than that, it'll be the same transcript, the same format, everything.
Correct.
Yes, and I don't know how many of you have seen our transcript, where Mr. Ficero's talking about each year, each
yeah.
grade is designated by year with final grade. So you have grade 9, 10, 11, and then what scholarship committees will see, or what colleges will see, will be at least first term of the senior year grades. They'll also see a complete listing of the courses a student selected for their senior year. In the bottom right-hand corner, let's say this year's class is 218, there will be a number over 218
Right.
indicating rank. That's what would be gone.
Will we still have a National Honor Society?
Yeah, that's based on
that's a
GPA,
GPA
it's not
only.
based on rank.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
No, I kind of said it when you guys were talking about the other stuff. This is kind of near and dear to me, and I do not believe that everybody should receive an award just for participating. So I do know that there's kids out there who feel that top spot's a top spot, but when you started, but I feel that it hurts because it's important, and I think that for the kids that are striving for it, it's important. It is their thing. And, but it isn't necessarily the students that are at that level that are the problem. It's the kids around who almost pick a team and pick a side. And that's the part that can get really, really hurtful. I like the idea, and I hope like the top 10 kids or whatever it is can have some sort of a special designation, because it is huge. And I understand the student that maybe is coming in and gimping at the end and they made it is just as proud as his accomplishments. I understand that, and I know there's a lot of that out there. But when you get to that level, at the other end, I would hope to see that there could be some designations. I like the idea of there being different honors levels as they graduate, just to really recognize that they've taken the extra classes or the work. But I'm just, I think it'll be good for our kids going forward.
And I think you can do that without differentiating where the kids rank.
Right.
You can just do it by a GPA status.
Yep.
And it would be a simple solution.
Yeah, yeah.
So how we
And that
run
way,
National Honor
you
Society.
have these 10 kids or whatever it is that are all within 1/100th of.
Right.
You're not
Right, so you're
necessarily,
like
you're
splitting
not bumping a
hairs
kid
when
out.
you come to
If you
those
do
upper
based on a
levels.
GPA, it's similar how they
Right.
do it at the college level.
Well, they already
You know, where the top
recognized.
10% of your class, top 20% of your class.
They're already recognized, no National Honor Society, they're already wearing a sash.
They are, but it's
That's right.
that.
Yeah, but it's different.
It is, but yeah.
It is different.
Well, I
Sounds
think
like
other
you'd have a
things go into
situation.
National Honor Society besides
Character,
GPA.
there's a lot of
They
community
look at-
service.
They look at other
Yeah,
stuff.
Which is what a
that's the
lot of
baseline
colleges
of
are
what-
doing, it's modeling that.
Right.
I know this is something that we asked you guys to look at, and I think a lot of it just stemmed from anecdotal stuff that we're hearing from their
Right.
parents and hearing from students, really how they're just struggling at those top percentages to really compete with each other.
It's a lot of
And that
stress.
really takes away a lot of what school should be about. And there's enough stress that they have in their lives and enough pressure that they put on themselves that this just adds to
Yeah.
it.
And
So
I-
I'm
and I-
glad to see it, sort of
Yeah.
what you researched sort of fell in line
Mirrors,
with
yeah.
what we were
Hoping to see.
Well, hearing too.
Yep.
I know we'll probably have a second, I just
I
want to
think we
say, I would like, I like the idea of a phase of myself. I'm just saying.
Faith like over, like start.
Can you explain why, Mr. Patero?
I just think that the students in the building now have an expectation that there is a class rank. I'm flexible, I would say that I maybe begin with this year's freshman class, but I think for the juniors and sophomores who've been living under the guise of class rank, it throws them off a little bit, that's just the way I feel.
I'm telling you right now, that
I'm
those
sorry.
conversations just aren't, those aren't happening. Those conversations just aren't happening, though, I think, to the level that you might think. We talk about it because we have to pick a valedictorian and salutatorian, and then, you know, the kids are keeping track, those, I would say the top 5, wouldn't you, that are really kind of having those conversations, so.
The only thing I would add to Dr. Flanagan's point is, in the eyes of the colleges, just so everybody understands how it works, how class rank and GPA actually works in the eyes of a college, none of those numbers, rank or GPA, are official until the end of a student's junior year.
There you go, too. That's a
They,
good point.
and the reason that they are not official is because there's not enough separation. There's not enough semesters and coursework under a student's belt to create separation where you may have an individual student who shares the rank of number 1. We've had years in the past, many, Rich, under your direction and Dr. Flanagan's as well, where literally to the last course of the last semester, you don't know who the number 1 student in the class is.
Sometimes it comes down to an exam, a grade on an exam.
that's too much.
2 kids in the same class battling it out.
And I share that with you because this notion that we have kids as freshmen and sophomores who are keeping track of their rank, they may be with a calculator and pen and pencil, that top 1 or 2% that we're talking about. In my role as a school counselor and an advocate for kids, that's one of the biggest issues I have with rank, is that when we start to paint that picture, when you're a 14 or 15-year-old kid and that's how you are creating your high school experience, I think you really run the risk of losing out on a lot of other things that you could, and that's not to say I don't love the grind and the effort that a kid puts forth to maintain those grades. These kids are amazing. They are amazing. But the conversations I have with these students every day, there are other things going on in their world that stand in the way of the experience because so much of that emphasis is placed on, I have to get that exact class. If I don't get that exact class, then I can't stay in this rank. And that's not what education and real learning is supposed to be about. GPA and rank do not become official until the end of the junior year. So our kids can tell you what their GPA and rank is. It is completely unofficial until they finish their junior year, in the eyes of any college in the country.
I think we all agree with you, so then you're saying then that...
I just don't understand what a phase-in accomplishes.
I think this year's juniors deserve the right to have a class rank for next year.
Yeah.
And then everything else goes.
Yeah.
Because they've been living under it for 3 years, that's all I'm saying, inconsistent.
There is that expectation.
There is a
there.
mindset, I guess.
Yeah.
I know, you're right, everything you're saying is 100% right. I'm just saying, trying to balance both. I mean, it's really appreciated that you attacked this problem for us and solved it, all right?
We'll come up with a better one next year.
I would like to know though, like if you were gonna do like a first honors and a second honors, like at what level, like for
That's above my
graduation?
pay grade, ma'am.
Well, I know, but like just
I have no
about,
idea.
just so like we can have an idea, but I'm,
Yeah, so
if you're interested, if you are gonna do it, I just wanna know, I think that it would be good to still honor those kids at some level. I don't know how you figure that one out though.
Well, our NHS students are already designated with
Right.
sashes at graduation.
Right.
And if you look at our criteria for NHS, GPA is a major criteria for NHS. And so that would represent the top
15 to 20
15 to 20 kids
per grade.
So that would be one answer. Other schools that I've looked at through my research do a high honors and a regular honors. But again, this is, sort of just reporting what we found.
These are things you can work out as you get into the process.
Right.
I mean.
Because you still, if we use the quote-unquote phase-in and allow the juniors to continue, you still have 2 years to figure out how you're gonna go about the honors piece. And it doesn't have to be done now, that there is
No, I
time to
know.
work
Oh,
it.
I'm just saying, just
Not
think
that
about
big of a
it.
deal.
So just, I'm thinking, so we've spoken about this enough, I think. Do we want to leave this as also a first reading and think about it and have them come back, or we'll process this?
I'm easy with this one. So.
Yeah, I don't think, because
I
this,
think we should stay consistent.
Yeah, I want to stay consistent,
All
so
right.
please.
I mean, it is gonna pass.
Yeah.
I think we still think we should stay consistent.
but I like the thought of, what Rich threw out of, allowing the juniors to stay in the system and then start it.
I think we need some feedback from the
I was gonna say,
administration.
right, take that
How they
one
feel
back.
about
Right.
that before we meet again, if they feel that it is detrimental, or if they feel like it can work.
Yeah.
Because I'd be willing to hear how they feel about the phasing.
I think it sends a little bit of a mixed message, because it's either good or it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
what's it, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like, remember when you changed how the GPA was going to go? And it started with, I guess in my mind, I figured, and I'm happy
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
sooner than later, but in my mind I figured, oh, you kind of gotta, like, I know my guys had started that freshman year and you had changed how the grading
Yep,
worked.
the weighting,
and,
yep.
And so you waited, so I don't know if,
But that was because of the mathematical piece of that.
okay.
That's why we had
Yeah,
to,
It would have went back and significantly dropped certain students' GPAs as opposed to.
so we had no choice but to
Yeah.
phase that.
Okay. No, but I appreciate the effort. I know I've been bugging him for a few years, and I know I've been poking at Mr. Martin for a few years about it, and I'm,
Never bugging me.
I never.
Gee, that doesn't sound like you, Beth.
Gently reminding, I think.
And I know the dress code was huge too. I know you guys put a lot of effort into that one. That one just
That
hurts
one's
me.
nice.
But this one I feel is pertinent to education
Yep.
specifically,
Well, I think
so.
they both are, but we're not gonna get into that.
In a special way.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank the high school staff for being here and presenting on two things. One that got a
Still
lot of
left.
discussion. Oh, there's
We still have another.
Well,
This
just
might be easier.
to put a
though.
bug in your ear, just around everything that they have presented has to do with the students first.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Learning and educational environment, their growth and development, their continued growth and development and perseverance. So I just like people to kind of think about the ranking, whether it's phased in or not. Are we saying it's good for one more class? And that, I just don't know if it gets around the purpose of it if it's phased in. I guess I'd like clarification around
I guess,
that.
is there a way to like feel out the juniors? You know what I mean? Like maybe, you know, I know that's kind of a hard way to present it, but I do feel that their mindset's there. They feel like they're at that last lap, and you know, you hate to take them and just like.
But then you gotta think, what about the sophomores?
Well, I know, but at this point, the sophomores
To me, it's
have, they're not moving into those next level
Yeah.
classes yet, the sophomores. You know, that's happening next year for them.
I view it a little bit differently from my perspective. And again, I understand the thought process around the kids that are thinking, well, I'm right there. We're talking about a handful of students. We have roughly 220 in the 11th grade. And I would hope that their primary purpose, even those that, you know, we have 85 to 90% that are college bound, either 2 or 4 year schools. But I want every kid to be thinking about matching passion with purpose when Dr. Flanagan shakes their hand the first Friday in June, whether they were number 1 in the class or they were 220. And there's a lot of kids between number 1 and 220. And so my perspective is a little different on the number of students that are going to be really focused on rank versus the number of students who might still be outstanding students who would feel a huge sigh of relief because it no longer exists.
And can I just share with you a really, really beautiful story that kind of hits it home for me, and I won't mention any names, but right now we have 2 students who are like just neck and neck. And one of the students had a very traumatic family situation happen to him this year that could have changed the whole landscape for him. So they were tied. The one student he was tied to tutored him so that he would not miss any of his, course load and work, because for him it was about helping a student who was in need and who had a very traumatic family thing going on. And that was a beautiful thing for me to see, that here you have these 2 kids and they're getting it right more than anybody else, that they're not seeing themselves as this competition. They're seeing themselves as, we're brothers, let's try to lift each other up. And I think that's a beautiful thing to kind of keep in the back of your head as we talk about these things. There's a person behind those numbers.
Thank you.
I don't know that I'll be at another one of these publicly, Ms. May, so I just wanted to thank you for your service on the school committee.
Thank you.
You've done an awesome job for the kids in this town, and we're grateful for your service, so.
Don't make me get
No,
upset.
I mean it, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your kind words.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah, do I get to go?
Yeah, you do.
You get it. Have a good night, thank you. All right, so continuing along our presentations this evening, we have the 5.3, which is tuition increase for our Little Big Kids program.
Okay, so I'm going to refer to the sheet here. For well over 5 years, I'm thinking Mr. Ficero could probably give more insight to that. The East Long Meadow Little Big Kids School Nursery has charged participants $300 for our program that runs 3 days a week from 7:25 to 10:10. That's 2.7 hours. The tuition includes a daily snack, and the program employs one certified teacher. As we are looking to make upgrades and improve the program without putting a strain on the building budget, we would like to increase the tuition to $600 for the 2018-19 school year. So just so you're aware, that tuition, there's a lot, for example, last year, in order to keep the room sanitary, and I feel like I want to put my own child in it, I bought new rugs, we bought things to help, store the toys. That came out of the building-based budget, did not come from the tuition piece. So our research of other local preschool programs, which we're going to outline below, shows that our tuition is well below other preschool programs in the area. So let me just go over the research that we found. So Ludlow High School no longer offers a preschool program. It closed at the end of last year. The preschool was run by an outside company, but allowed the high school student access to their classroom. The high school students now have no preschool classroom to work in. The preschool at Lower Pioneer Valley charges $210 a week for 5 days. The preschool runs from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, 9 hours. Tuition includes breakfast, lunch, and 2 snacks. The program applies 2 certified teachers and a certified director. The preschool at Westfield High School charges $1,600 and runs for 4 days a week. The hours are 8:30 to 1:45, so 5.25 hours a week for an additional $2,000 a year. Children can arrive at 7:10 daily. The program employs 2 certified teachers. The preschool at Amherst Regional High School charges $9,000 and runs 5 days a week. The hours are 7:30 to 4, so 8.5. Tuition includes breakfast and snack daily. Students have the option of attending 4 days a week for $7,200 or 3 days a week for $5,400. The program employs 1 certified teacher. And lastly, the preschool at Putnam is run by the Head Start program. They are open from 7 to 5 and run during school vacation and summer break. The tuition is subsidized by the state. Pam, you might be able to, I think Meadowbrook's preschool program charges, what, 15?
No, it's $1,800, and if they pay up front, then it's $100 discount, I believe,
Right.
$1,700.
Okay, so given all those numbers,
Yeah.
I think it's completely reasonable to offer the $600 for the school year. One other thing I wanted to mention too that was kind of a point of contention is that in the past, we also want to clean up the process of selecting individuals into the program. In the past, it was kind of word of mouth. We had some East Long Meadow residents that were allowed into the program, and it is I feel now that I'm no longer an East Long Meadow resident, but I feel very strongly that this program should be available to East Long Meadow residents. So we decided that the program would no longer be accepting non-East Long Meadow residents, and that we'd be conducting a lottery. So not next year, but the following year, what we'd like to do is put an ad in the reminder and open it up to the entire town, so everybody gets a fair shake into getting their kids into the program, and that there would be a lottery. Now, for this year, we've already had parents call interested, so we've been keeping a list like first come, first serve. So for this year, what we thought we would do is there are 8 families that signed up for 6 spots, so we would have a lottery for those 8 families. So 2 of them might not get in, but again, we're giving them plenty of time to make accommodations. I think the price is really reasonable. Like I said, I must have spent at least $1,500 out of my building-based budget last year just to get the room, accommodating for the kids. I don't think that's unreasonable.
And this was a collaborative effort. I sat with Dr. Flanagan as well as Ms. Brown, the teacher, and even the town accountant came over, and we all kind of looked at the program and agreed that it really needs to be increased. And we're working on that to help it be a self-sustained program.
Yeah.
You're talking about 8 new families, correct?
So
you
we
have
have some
five
families that already
returning?
that are returning,
Right,
so they're
okay.
already in and moving. But for those families that are the 8 one, we would have that lottery. So 2 of them potentially would not be able to get in.
So I'll move that we approve the increase to the Little Big Kids program tuition to $600 for the 2018-2019 school year.
Okay, motion's made
I'll second.
and seconded. Any further discussion on
We
that?
should do 9,000, I could buy some programs.
Well, we want to see the program succeed. So hopefully this will
This
allow
might
it.
be revisited.
Yeah,
exactly.
Pam and I have talked about that, but we thought we'd go easy.
And I like that
So-
you're keeping it East Long Meadow too, because I think it's our
Yeah, I
students
like
and our
Correct,
kids.
I like that,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, that carries forward 5-0. Okay, we
Perfect.
voted on something for you tonight.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. And Deidre, we also echo, you've been great, and we're
Thank
going to
you.
miss having you on the school committee, so thanks for everything.
Thank you. Well, we'll see you again on, we'll be up here.
Yeah, I'm sure,
so.
but
But thank you too.
Thank
everybody.
you all. If you don't,
Yeah.
haven't been on that side, wonderful.
And I knew the
Very
whole
effective.
dress
You
code
should
thing
feel
was
good
going to
leaving
get that
here.
reaction, we were ready.
You should feel good leaving here, you should.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
it's, and it needed to be updated
It does,
in the language.
definitely
And
does.
it is tough. It's a tough subject.
Great.
We
Of
get there.
course, if you guys have questions, if you want to process it
Right,
all,
exactly.
So,
we're ready to continue
But I
fighting.
gotta give you a hard time at least once a year, right?
I know, right?
yeah.
All right.
All right, have a good everyone.
Thank
See ya.
Thank you.
Night. Thanks. Good night.
Just give that a second. Okay, we're ready to move on. We have 5.2.1, the third quarter fiscal report. So, Mrs. Blair, you're
Bye, good night.
Okay, good night, everyone. So in your packet is your FY18 third quarter financial report, so that's as of March 31st. It is designed as a spreadsheet, as a financial update for the third quarter. To remind you, the budget amount is $29,195,201, of which, as of March 31st, $17,535,443 has been expended, and $10,481,321 has been encumbered. I always give you some detail there on the accounts, as I always do. So if you go to page 4, you'll actually be where the numbers are. So up at the top, of course, this page here is your operational budget as of March 31st, and the salaries are at the top. I'd like to remind everyone that not all of these budget lines are encumbered, and therefore you will see balances in there. If you go halfway down in that salary, you'll see that the teachers has a pretty good balance in there. The salaries are encumbered, but what happens is there's other lines such as substitute that you'll see is lower. So there's things that are always happening, behind the scenes, and this is as of March 31st. The bottom section is the expense lines, and you'll see the transportation has that $40,000 balance there. And I do anticipate having that savings in that budget line, which will help us at the end of the year to maximize our budget. I wanted to remind everyone that April 30th was the Unit A contractual date for their final purchase orders. For the teachers have to put their requests into the principals, and then that enables the principals to then now expend their site-based budgets. So we're still in the process of that because it's just early May. So just wanted to remind you all of that. Any questions on the operational budget?
Fuel impact, with fuel costs going up, we're locked in, right?
We are, but now remember, next year we're outsourcing, so
Yeah, I know.
it's, yeah.
Okay.
But yes, the collaborative is locked in.
They haven't locked in for next year, have they?
I believe they have, yeah. I can double check that for you.
Because it'll be interesting, because they say, it's gonna keep going up, so it
Yeah,
will impact. at
but
some
Paul
point.
Schroeder at the collaborative is
Right.
pretty
Oh, I know.
good. Yeah, as you do know.
We don't encumber bus drivers. It's
We
through
do not,
the-
no, the hourly
Yeah,
employees.
okay.
Any other questions on that? Make
And
a-
then the lunch revolving account is still large.
Oh, are we going over to the next page? Yep.
Well, it was from your tutorial.
Oh, okay, well, I was gonna talk
Just a
about
large.
that when I get over
Okay,
there.
we can wait then. I can wait.
Oh, that's okay. Does anybody have any other questions there?
No.
No,
Okay, so then if we go over to page 5, you're gonna find your grants and your revolving accounts. The grants are on the top, and these are the same ones. The Title I, I just wanted to let you know that there was a small $558 reduction to the grant. The Title IIA, I forgot to mark that in there, but there was a $114 increase to that grant. The IDEA budget, you'll see that there is a significant balance as of March 31st, so that is something I'm analyzing, because remember, there are 3 different funding sources for out-of-district tuitions, and that's, we have the operational budget, we have IDEA grant funds, and we also have the circuit breaker. So I'm in the process of looking at all of those accounts, and reminding you that this is the March 31st balance there. Any questions on any of the grants? Pretty straightforward. The revolving accounts are on the bottom half, so those are a little different because those carry forward from one year to the other. You'll see the balances that were carried forward. I wanted to remind you that on the athletic stadium rental, I did transfer that $6,550 from the high school gift account that we talked about last month. So that has been transferred over there.
What's been expensed that? What are we paying for out of that?
The athletic stadium,
Yeah.
Paying the maintenance, we've just contracted with the company that put in the field, and now they're doing an annual maintenance. That's
Okay.
above and beyond, it's about $5,000 a year, above and beyond what our DPW can do. And that comes out of there, plus things such as the carpets that go across the track, items that are preserving the field and the track come out of there. Any adjustments we've needed to make to either the exterior fencing or the fencing around the field, sometimes those gates tend to hang, for lack of a better term.
For reasons.
And so we have to adjust that, that will come out of there as well.
the circuit breaker, I wanted to let you know that that third quarter payment came in on 4/3, so that didn't include that $152,000 payment. Two other things I wanted to let you know about the circuit breaker is that it is this year at 65%, not 73%, which is what it was the prior year, which equates to about a $90,000 figure, just to let you know.
And we actually built the budget thinking that it was going to be 75%.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I think there still is ongoing discussions about
That we might-
supplemental, about getting into at least 72%.
To get it back up, and that can happen. I'm cautiously optimistic, I
Yeah.
guess, but I'm not really anticipating.
It did
it's
pass the
going to.
House, it is in the Senate, so, and they have not taken action on it yet.
Okay.
What
The
about
last-
this, sorry.
Yep, no, I just wanted, one other thing I wanted to let you know about the circuit breaker is that there was an audit done this winter, and there is a reduction of $56,769 in that budget line item. You know, it's that they found differences between the accounts claimed and then the supporting documentation. So, as a reminder, or maybe you don't realize this, the claim that was put in is like $1.1 million, so this is a small, yeah, but I did want to bring it to your attention. And school lunch, that has a good balance there. I did reach out to Lori Paul, because I wanted to have those numbers for you, and what she told me is that, you know, $235,000 is the amount of money that she has to keep aside for that 3 month,
60%.
yeah, that she needs there. And when she showed me the balance sheet and all of the things that she's planning on buying, things such as the Meadowbrook, needs a dishwasher, Mountain View, the walk-in fridge, Mountain View, the serving line sneeze guard. She's got, you know, the bottom line ends up being only about a like $25,000 difference, because this is $96,000 in anticipated expenditures, and it was like a $126,000 plus past the $235. So I don't know if you're all following me.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
235?
It's what they need.
That's what she has to hold
She has
aside.
to hold that aside.
It's a
Yeah.
significant amount.
Her 6 to 12 months of
Yeah.
operation.
6 to 12
12
weeks.
weeks, sorry.
And I do have this.
Well, that's the 12 weeks.
Mhm.
She could add conceivably half of that.
Well,
She could,
But that's
but
dangerous.
But
she's.
don't we build, doesn't this get larger every year? It seems like it's snowballing. And now she's gonna spend a good amount, so that'll help.
They're also redoing the cafeteria at the high school here. They're working
okay.
on, yeah, that's another part. I do have this balance sheet that I can share with you as well, which might answer some of those questions. And Lori Paul said anytime you'd like her to come in, she'd be more than happy. And we could do that on the next, agenda if you'd like to.
And we charge the minimum for lunches anyway. There's not much we can do about it, right?
Right,
We have to
there's-
raise it for a reason, yeah.
We did have to raise it
Well,
because,
a couple of years ago.
in order to
Feds.
participate in the free and reduced
Yeah.
federal lunch program, we had to make sure that we were charging a certain price for each lunch.
Okay.
And that kindergarten tuition revolving account line will disappear, correct?
Zeroed, at the end, yes, it's gone.
Finite.
Okay.
I still
move
think that
to
was the
ex-
most inventive way of getting around something, kindergarten,
Most-
revolving tuition
Right.
account.
But it
For
a lot
the
of dis-
building and the
yeah, a
getting
lot
of
it
good stuff.
happen, and that was,
It allowed us to
you know,
get to
Yeah.
free all-day kindergarten, which
Yep.
many districts in the eastern end of the state are still very challenged to do.
Oh,
They are.
Yeah, we're gonna next town over.
Move to accept the third quarter fiscal
Okay.
report as presented.
Okay, motion's made
Second.
and second. Any further discussion? Thank you, Pam, for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that carries forward 5-0. All right.
Through the many policies that the MASC has recently revised, BEDH deals with public, originally participation. Now they're referring to it as public comment. So the title itself is where one of the changes is, changing participation to comment. And then there's one other change in this policy. If you go down to number 1, they delete the first point reads, at the start of each regularly scheduled school committee meeting, individuals or group representatives will be invited to address the committee. And then they are advising to delete the length of the public participation segment shall be determined by the chair. And they're saying add, it's not a huge change, the chair shall determine the length of the public
What
comment.
is the change?
Yeah, I don't understand the
I
change.
thought it used to be
Flip
20
this-
minutes anyway. Didn't we used to be 20 minutes?
Is that on the agenda? No.
It's on, if you look on the back, it gives you
Yeah.
guidelines,
Used to be-
and it's 20 minutes, it's still 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, the chair has the,
Right, yeah.
the right to increase that or
All that for some.
And I'm just, all they did was flip the
Yeah.
Flip the
sentence
sentence.
around.
they flipped it.
A lot of these are
Switch
really-
participation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So in doing so, they probably
Okay.
made it grammatically correct.
That's all.
yeah, okay. So again, first reading,
Went to a
so,
more active
The
sentence.
chair is the subject,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly
doing
it.
the action.
Right,
Yeah,
so
right.
at the first. Okay,
First reading.
first reading, so
Okay.
take that, think about it.
Thank you for being attentive to that.
All right, we have 7.2
It gets
policy
better.
BHE, use of electronic messaging by school committee members.
Okay, and very similarly, there are only 2 additions in updating this. The first paragraph where it says, as elected public officials, school committee members shall exercise caution when communicating between and among themselves via electronic messaging services, including but not limited to electronic mail, in parentheses, email. They've added text messages and social media postings in between, and then have continued to include internet web forums and internet chat rooms.
Okay.
Can we just call it email? Why do we have to say electronic mail? Nobody calls it that.
You can certainly do that.
Yeah.
We
So be
revise that
formal.
for the second
Yeah.
meeting.
No,
being
it's being,
formal,
this is old.
Craig.
This comes from 20 years ago, probably, right?
Close to it.
Dress code.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, when the dress code was
But,
done,
but then you have to go and replace it everywhere in this
Why, is that
policy?
places?
Yeah,
just
every other
leave it.
paragraph has electronic
Yeah,
messaging.
switch it off.
But
well, no.
is it the electronic
wait a minute.
messaging also
No,
counting
no.
text messages,
Yes,
social media
electronic
posting?
messaging is all
So then
encompassing.
it should be electronic
Well,
mail.
the one change he made was electronic mail, not
Right.
electronic message.
Call it
The electronic messaging
message.
encompasses
Neither
everything.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it.
Neither.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Next.
All right, moving down, we have 7.3, policy BIA, new school committee member orientation, first reading.
Okay, this also is not a vast amount of changes. They've added in the listed documents that should be provided, a copy of, they added the word ethics to the conflict of interest regulations. So that's updating that. It is the actual Ethics Commission that provides the information around the conflict of interest regulations and the training that both school committee and all municipal staff have to go through. Then as you go down to the bottom, they've added the cross-references, BBBA/quadruple B.
Right. Okay. We're good on that one, first reading, so then move on to 7.4, policy BIBA, school committee conference, conventions, and workshops, and this again is a first reading.
Correct. So this is, has a few more changes than the other one. In the first item, numbered item, calendar of school committee conferences, at the end of that paragraph, they revised it by deleting, at least annually, the committee will identify those new ideas or procedures and/or cost benefits that can be ascribed to participation at such meetings. Take that out, leave the paragraph as it stands. Then moving down to 3, basically they're updating their language, and there is a travel reimbursement policy that not only is used by the schools but the town, so they're inserting that, and they're deleting expense policy for staff members.
May I digress? Speaking of that, where was that school committee
Stipend?
stipend to the town council?
Did they even address it?
I don't even think they addressed it.
It
Did
was-
you ever?
It was presented
Okay.
in the budget to them. However, it was not then presented in the budget that went before the town council. It was presented in our spreadsheets in the request, which actually, I believe is up on our website.
Right.
So,
So that's the only recommendation that the town manager made, was to take that out?
I don't know if it was accidental. I did
I don't
drop
give
an
the benefit
email.
of the doubt on that.
No, I know.
And there was no other recommendation by the town manager on any other of the requests. They were all just presented as, this is what everybody's looking for. That's the one thing the town manager took
Well, I
out.
think tomorrow, there's gonna be a fully recommended budget that may have some changes in it.
Well, based on the discussion of the council, though, that doesn't come from the town manager, that's the recommendation of the council.
True.
I'm just
but-
wondering why the manager took this one thing out on her own and decided that was the one thing she'd have an opinion on, and nothing else she had an opinion on.
Interesting.
is there a way that you can follow up tomorrow to find out where this is at? It's
Sure.
not about the money, it's about the principle that we are the only other elected board in town.
I think where it's at is that it wasn't recommended, because we went through it in detail when we
Yeah,
went.
but
It
why
doesn't-
was
But then
nothing
what about
recommended
to
and
us,
not
nothing,
recommended, except
right.
for this?
Right.
It's just lunacy.
It's not, I just don't see that as being right.
And I find it to be, it is disrespectful.
It is.
I mean, you at least comment back what you feel.
If-
And other
yes.
boards are getting, and again, it's not
It's
enough
not
to make
about
a
the money.
difference. But it's the idea that other non-elected boards are getting the same
Right, it's
stipend.
the equity.
They got lumped in with us,
And they meet once a month
right.
and for
They're
a
not doing half
couple
the work,
hours.
half the work that we're doing.
And I respect what they're doing, because it's a pain in their neck,
It's not,
but it's-
again, I'm not looking to, all I'm saying is we are the only other elected
Yeah.
board in town, and there should be some differentiation, in my mind, between our stipend and other appointed boards. And that's the only reason that I think this was brought up,
Yeah.
again.
And maybe it would be nice if a town council person actually thought to speak to one of us on it, if they even knew it was a thing,
Right.
Well,
you know?
I'm not sure that they got that in their
I know that.
informational package.
Right.
All right,
okay,
all right. Let's continue down. We are
And
at,
then cross-references were added as well at the bottom.
oh, okay. All right. Moving on to more fun stuff. We have 7, so that was our first readings. We'll have those back at our next meeting. Moving down to 7.5, the Rotary Summer Concert Series.
Okay, you have in your packet a request to again use the high school grounds for the Rotary Concert Series. You have the dates listed under the application for use of school buildings. You also have a certificate of liability insurance, which will be updated as of July 1st, but the June concerts will be covered with the current certificate of liability insurance.
And as always, all the dates seem to fall on times where we don't have anything going on with school activities that would have taken precedence.
Correct. They're, I believe, in one of the rain dates that they would like to propose.
Oh, yeah,
They
well,
are
it's closed.
trying to work that out with both Rec and Mr. McGee.
Right. I noted that. Okay. All right.
So I'll move that we approve the 33rd annual Rotary Summer Concert Series to be allowed at East Long Meadow High School on the dates and times listed in the request.
Any motions made
I'll second.
and seconded? Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, carries forward, 5-0. Okay,
Thank
moving
you.
down to 7.6, participation in the 4th of July parade.
Okay, and we extend an invitation for you to come down and march with us.
Thank you.
But this
Should
would
we
be-
wait?
This is a request, not so much a request, but it's the participation form that's mailed to us each year by the parade committee. And if we're interested in marching, we'll fill it out for the school committee and send it back. It's always a good time. We have our banner. March in front of the high school band, keep us going.
First meeting of the parade committee is this Wednesday night at the Council on Aging,
Oh, wow.
so it's coming up.
Okay. So,
Move to approve the participation in the 4th of July parade
A
this
second.
year.
all right, a motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
I abstain.
Why do you abstain?
I don't march.
What
I'm on
happened?
vacation. I'm on vacation.
You used to move. Approved.
I know, it's just saying that you allow the committee.
It's a lot of fun watching you march. You're bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, you have
I
to
didn't
go
walk
kiss all
last
your
year.
babies and shake all the hands.
Yeah.
All right, so 7.7, National Night Out request for use of ELHS grounds on August 7, 2018.
Okay, we have a letter in your packets from our own Mr. Mackey, requesting to use the grounds on August 7th, roughly 5 to 8 for National Night Out, which is a celebration that's put on by police departments really across the country, but I believe we have opened it up so it's police, fire, emergency services, and it's a coming together of the community.
Great. All right, so if we get a,
I make a motion to approve the National Night Out request for use of ELH grounds on August 7th, 2018. Really, it's from 7 to 9 p.
Yeah.
True, it was set up.
They're here all day.
Yep.
all right, so a motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that carries forward 5-0. Moving down to 7.8, Rotary Club Foundation request for use of ELHS grounds for a fireworks display.
Okay, so this would be on the evening of July 3rd, prior to our marching, to get us in a festive mood. The Rotary Club will be presenting fireworks at the high school grounds with your approval of their use of the high school grounds. Generally, they'll start fencing it off. You see the zone, the restricted zone there in red on the overhead shot. They'll probably start that around June 28th as the letter requests.
Move to approve the request to allow the Independence Day fireworks celebration here at East Long Meadow High School on July 3rd.
Okay, motion's made
A second.
and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, nay. And that carries forward 5-0. We just want to say thank you to Mr. Mackey and also Ally. And Ally, do you have any?
We'll have one more meeting? One more
I was
meeting?
just-
One more meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not counting down. And do you have a college decision? Do we get to hear that?
Yes, I'm going to George Washington University in Washington.
Very
Very
nice.
good.
Oh, congratulations.
Very nice warm weather down there.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion made.
A second.
And second, any further discussion? I don't think so. All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes, I hear none, so that carries forward 5-0. So with that, have a great night.